Deion Sanders Jr. said greatness was coming to Boulder. I'll explain why he said that and more on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? I'm Kevin Borba. I'm your host of Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. We're available wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode, it's a solo one again. John's under the weather. That's okay. We're talking about Deion Sanders Jr., discussing why greatness is coming to Boulder. We're going to discuss an official addition of a new staffer. And then we also are going to talk about Shedeur Sanders possibly being the most impactful transfer, as that is a belief of a certain analyst who may or may not be making an appearance on the show this week. So stay tuned for that as well. Starting with Deion Sanders Jr. He was interviewing with 24/7 Sports on, I believe it was Friday, and he was just discussing, what he does for the program, because he's really big into social media. He runs the social media for the program, kind of is making Colorado cool, if you will. I don't think there's a better social media presence in all of college football than the one that Boulder has. And it's because of Deion Sanders Jr. He did play college football at SMU. He spent his time playing football, but now he's assisting his dad and his brother, obviously, too, who's on the team, but he's assisting them and growing the program, making it more popular. He also makes music. And so he was discussing what to expect from Colorado. Because I think a lot of people, while the narrative is that Colorado can't be good just because they went 1-11 last year, I think people are beginning to realize that all of the transfers that Deion Sanders and company brought in, Coach Prime brought in, they're all going to be very good. He has another chance to add more transfers, and Coach Prime, he built one of the strongest staffs, arguably in the country, that many people don't even realize. And so I think people around the country, especially like other college football analysts who maybe were sleeping on Colorado to begin with, are now kind of gearing back and being like, oh, maybe they will be good. And so when talking to them, he kind of was first of all, he discussed his brother and Travis Hunter and what they bring to the table. And so he ended it with saying, expect greatness from Shedeur and Travis and the whole team in general. And then he also discussed that there's a whole new culture in Boulder, which I think is evident. I think that, Colorado won social media wise. Let's just go from there. Social media wise, they saw a huge of increase in following. They have new players, new staffers who are all trying to bring the community together. We've seen Coach Prime at basketball games, lacrosse games. He's made an appearance at. He's everywhere. I think the culture at Colorado is trying to be bought into. Coach Prime's culture is being brought into being at Colorado, and so I think he's trying to make it more like a family environment than it could have been in the past under past regimes, if you will. And then also, and this part kind of stood out to me the most. Also, let's not skip over the fact that there's a record amount of sales for the spring game. Top recruits are going to be at the spring game. And so Colorado just overall has a whole different vibe to it. And I think obviously Coach Prime's presence being there, but Deion Sanders Jr.'s role should not be overlooked. He puts together great videos on YouTube. That's actually where we get a lot of the clips of, say, Travis Hunter doing one-on-one drills, or Shedeur Sanders. They have behind the scenes stuff that nobody else has, because a lot of it's from his social media sites. And so make sure to go check him out. But would love to get him on the show too, just to kind of get his insight on what else he can indulge to us, or divulge, whatever, divulge. Can't think of the word right now. I think it's divulge. But he brings a lot to the table. But I think the thing that stood out to me the most was he was kind of talking about what they were doing, how they rated the transfer portal, brought in a great recruiting class. And he asked the host of the show slips my mind. I think it's, let's see, what is the show called? college football recruiting show with 24/7 Sports. He was talking about recruiting and transfer portal stuff, and he goes, "Can I say some more about that?" Or something along the lines. He asked them if he could say more about bringing in more talent, and they were like, "No," and he was like, "Okay, because we're not done yet." And so, Colorado's. I mean, I don't know if that's a hint at Shane Hooks or if that's a hint at more transfers that are in the portal, because the portal's still flowing. There's still guys that haven't found homes yet, and so I think Colorado, like I predicted, I think last week, will still be in the mix, and I think we'll see a lot of that on Deion Sanders Jr.'s YouTube page and social media, and we'll just continue to see the program grow as it has been these past, I want to say 4 months. I think it is. I don't think a program across the country has grown more in 4 months than Colorado has. They went from a 1-11 program that the country as a whole didn't really give two cares about, and now they're a national brand. There's spring games on ESPN. They're getting top recruits to visit, and they might be in contention for top recruits to sign eventually. That'd be huge. But yeah, major things are happening in Colorado. Also, the Built Bar March Madness bracket is here. We know you have a favorite built. We know you have a favorite bar or puff, and now's your time to make it count. Go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. I'll be voting for. Oof, I like the coconut one. I'm gonna be honest. And if you want your favorite sports team, if you want the Buffs to win, then you'll be voting for that bar. Too, supporting your team, support your bar and puff. And when you vote for your favorite bar or puff, you'll be entered into a drawing where 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. Not only that, but one Locked On fan, excuse me, wow, will win a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. You got to try Built, the best protein bar ever. Seriously, they're so amazing, and you only think they're good for you. That's the best part. What makes Built bars and puffs so good? Well, for starters, they're all high in protein, low in sugar, and covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. Run to builtmarchmadness.com right now to vote for your favorite bar or puff and pick up a box while you're there. You can vote every day in March, so hop in and support your pick. Excuse me. I mean, hey, March Madness is here. The Buffs didn't make the March Madness tourney, unfortunately, but you could go vote for your built favorite flav. You can win that tourney, maybe. Okay, moving on. Sal Sunseri, former Alabama defensive tackles coach. I talked about him a while back. He officially joined the staff. And a little bit about him. He was a special assistant to the head coach at Alabama. And earlier this month, he was in the rumors and the talks to be the defensive tackles coach for Colorado and Coach Prime, because they lost their previous one to the Minnesota Vikings. He moved into an off-field role last offseason and was more so focused on bringing in talent from the transfer portal. And Nick Saban told in an interview, said, I think there's a lot of things going on in college football, and the landscape has changed dramatically. You guys all know that, whether it's the portal, having people on top of the portal, you almost need a staff of people, just like you have a staff of people for recruiting to find out the best players in high schools are. You have to have people responsible to do evaluations in terms of who's getting in the portal, and also tracking how guys that get into the portal actually do. I think it's a little bit of a fad right now to think that I get in the portal and all my issues and problems are going to be solved, but yet it'd be interesting to see how many people really benefit in a positive way from taking advantage of the opportunity, and we're going to track those kinds of things. And this was last when he appointed Sal Sunseri as this assistant to the head coach role, and he said, and Sal's going to be involved in a lot of those things, but he's going to be a special assistant to me. As Nick Saban says, tell me in a lot of ways in the changing landscape of college football. So this opportunity with Colorado, Coach Prime is going to have Sal Sunseri back on the field, where his son, who currently coaches with the Patriots, said he should be all along. He said, and then also just a little about Sunseri. Prior to moving off the field at Alabama, he had a stint with Tennessee, Florida State, the Oakland Raiders, Florida, and then he also worked at Alabama twice. He had 2 stints at Alabama. So he's joining Charles Kelly, who came over via the Alabama pipeline. A little bit about Sal, because obviously he's 63 years old, coached outside linebackers. He's from Pittsburgh. He's been in the mix for recruiting a lot of guys. He landed Cyrus Digio. I don't know how to say that last name. But he was the 5-star, number 2 overall prospect, number 2 overall recruit, who's currently playing for the Denver Broncos in 2011. That was at his first stint, obviously, with Alabama. Josh Sweat, who's with the Eagles, 5-star number 8 player nationally, brought him in at Florida State. He also was a secondary recruiter for Jalen Ramsey, obviously, who went to Florida State, 5-star, top 20 player. Will Anderson, who's going to be probably at worst a top 10 pick this upcoming NFL draft. He was also a secondary recruit for him. Jeremiah Alexander, 5-star. Chris Braswell, 5-star. DeMarcus Walker. A notable name that you guys should know. If you don't know, it's okay. There's still a lot of new faces and new names to learn. Demoy Kennedy, Colorado linebacker who transferred via Alabama to Colorado. So that makes 3 people that came from, Tuscaloosa to Boulder. And Sal Sunseri will probably be, Colorado's already been killing the portal, but he has experience monitoring the portal. He has experience recruiting top talent, which when you have names like Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart, and the other top 5, top 5 players in general, other 5-star recruits, considering Colorado, I think his pedigree and experience in developing guys will really help Colorado and Coach Prime's chances of landing these players. And honestly, if you think about it, Colorado was horrendous in the trenches last year. With Charles Kelly, who obviously is going to be overseeing the whole defense, and now Sal Sunseri, I think Colorado may end up being, I think they're trying to emulate as close as they can to an SEC defense, which is pure physicality, not getting pushed off the ball, just party in the backfield, just creating havoc and just destroying offensive lines. And I think that's what Sal Sunseri can really bring. He has tons of experience all over the country: Florida State, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida. He has SEC experience. So this is a great hiring for Coach Prime. I think we often overlook the position coaches, but they play just as a big a role as anyone, because they're with their guys all the time. And so Sal Sunseri is going to be the one developing Leonard Payne from Florida, the Fresno State transfer, Shane Cokes from Dartmouth, Jordan Dominic from Arkansas. He's going to be the one that's kind of molding these guys and getting them to play together. And so I think really underrated hiring from him. Before I move on to you guys, grab your bracket and go listen to Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown with national analysis and insight from our local experts. And Locked On College Basketball Bracket Breakdown has everything. The Locked On College Basketball Breakdown has everything you need to make the most informed decisions on your bracket. Find the episode on Locked On College Basketball, wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube. Like I said earlier, March Madness is here. Dropped the brackets yesterday. I'm going to be honest, I don't agree with some of these rankings. They had certain 1 seeds that had just gotten blown out at the top. A lot of tough draws for some programs in the middle 5 to 10 seeds. They really kind of honed in on playing talented teams and strength of schedule and stuff. I will say though, Oklahoma State should have been in. I don't understand. This is an Oklahoma State rant on a Colorado podcast, and I don't even follow Oklahoma State. If we have the net ranking, that's a metric that we use. Why were there 2 teams a part of the last 4 in over Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State had a better net ranking by like 20 spots? I don't know. It's a whole thing. Either way, go check on Locked On College Basketball. They'll break down how to get the perfect bracket, or at least close to it. We all know we're all trying to get a perfect bracket. I know I'm going to try to get a perfect bracket. That'd be cool. I've yet to do it. I actually had my girlfriend do a bracket with me one time, and she predicted, I forgot who it was. Whoever, I think it was UMBC against Virginia. She actually predicted that just because when she was looking at the seeds, she felt bad that no 16 seed had won, and so she picked them to win. And of course, that was the year they won. So she had a very solid bracket, and then she kind of fizzled towards the end because obviously she was a little too confident in UMBC. But moving on, back to Sal Sunseri. Sorry, I just college basketball. I get excited about that too. Sal Sunseri, going to bring a new level of physicality. I think Colorado's defensive line will probably be one of the more physical ones in the Pac-12, and you got to be when you have quarterbacks like Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, DJ Uiagalelei, just running around, tough to bring down. So be excited, Colorado fans. This is a very big deal, and I think you'll notice even though they haven't started playing football yet, you'll probably notice in the spring game. Because the defensive line should usually in spring, the defenses are a little further along than the offense. That's just how it goes around the country most of the time. And so I think the defense line will get a little sneak peek of them, but also we'll get a sneak peek of recruiting. Maybe they nab a huge recruit, and it'll likely be because of Sal Sunseri and Coach Prime. That's a tough duo to turn down. If Coach Prime and Sal Sunseri walk into your living room and you're able to turn them down, more power to you, because I don't think most people would be able to. Also, guys, it's the midway point of the NBA season. It's here now, and it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on anything from money line to point scores. I know I'm taking the Lakers money line for the next 4 games because they are not only a few games out of like the 6th seed, they have a legit chance to kind of sneak out of the play-in. They were a play-in lock the whole time. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Okay. To conclude this episode, we got to talk about Shedeur Sanders again. Quarterback, obviously, son of Coach Prime, brother of Deion Sanders Jr., also brother of Shedeur Sanders. Threw 40 touchdowns this past season, nearly 4,000 yards. I think he only had 6 picks. He had it's complete. The cool thing about Shedeur Sanders, too, and I'm going to touch on this real quick. Each year at Jackson State, his numbers across the board improved. Great sign. But Shedeur Sanders, the biggest, maybe not the biggest name because Travis Hunter, but one of the biggest grabs for Coach Prime this offseason. Obviously, not many people thought his own son wasn't going to follow him to Colorado, but hey, he could have gone somewhere else. He had a lot of offers coming out of high school. He had Bama, every blue blood out there. He was recruited heavily by the Texas schools because he's a Texas native. But yeah, either way, back to the 24/7 Sports. And this was the guest that I'm alluding to. Me and Carl Reed are currently in talks to kind of collab. And so Carl Reed has been at the forefront of covering Coach Prime for these past few seasons for 24/7 Sports. And so I think it'll be awesome to have him on and kind of just get to see what it's like to be a part of that journey with Coach Prime the entire time. But when asked who he thinks will be the transfer that has the most immediate impact, he went with Shedeur, and talked about how he has a huge arm, great accuracy. He has a lot of weapons around him. And I think a lot of people are kind of counting Shedeur out just because of the FCS to Power 5 transfer jump, which again, sure. I mean, I will say that's a legit concern, but that shouldn't be something hindering you from thinking that Shedeur can be great, because there's people out here who think 5-star quarterbacks out of high school are going to be immediate Heisman winners. And it's like, you're telling me that playing kids who are barely passing Algebra 2 that's their best competition, that they are better suited to adjust to college football than someone who has 2 college football seasons under his belt? I don't think so. I'm just going to say I don't think so. I don't know if you do, but I don't. Shedeur, we've talked about it. huge arm. It's drawn comparisons to Carson Strong, who could spray it all over the field. If you watch his highlights, Jackson State, Shedeur is he has multiple throws where it's like 60, 65 yards plus, and it looks like he's just throwing it flat-footed. Obviously he's not, but he just looks like it's so effortless. He just flick of the wrist and it's screaming down the field. He can move too if he needs to. I think also the scary thing about Shedeur is his offensive line in Jackson State, while they were decent, they weren't the best. Like, he was sacked over 30 times his first year and over 20 times his second year. And I'm sure some of those were on him not making quick enough decisions, because, I mean, it happens at the quarterback spot. But give him a better offensive line, I feel like that's even scarier. That's scarier for defenses. More time to decide, and all these weapons we know Colorado has, that's going to be a huge advantage for Shedeur if he has more time to throw back there. But huge arm, accurate, can run if needed. And I think he just has that mentality where nothing bothers him. And I think that's probably all you could ask for in a quarterback, especially one that is making a jump, and they will be playing a really tough schedule. And so there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be some bumps and bruises for Shedeur Sanders. And I'm excited to see him in the spring game. Hopefully see you guys there. If you're at a spring game, we can meet up or something, maybe have a little chat. But yeah, I'm excited to see him first. That's the first taste. Also, Sean Lewis as his offensive coordinator. Sean Lewis is putting his quarterbacks in the best position to succeed. And so I'm just ready to see the ball sprayed all over the field. I do think that Shedeur Sanders can be the transfer that has the best impact this season. He's got great surrounding pieces. I think the offensive line can improve again via the transfer portal this next period. A great running game to complement him and the passing game. He's got great weapons. We've talked about him before. Xavier Weaver, Jimmy Horn, Shedeur Traore. They got returning guys. They got Montanius Craig, I believe is how you say his last name. Jordan Tyson, and maybe Shane Hooks, who was his top target at Jackson State. And so I think the stars are aligning for a Shedeur Sanders breakout season. Think Caleb Williams, where kind of we had expectations for him, and then Caleb Williams just blew him out of the water. Obviously, I'm not calling for a Heisman for Shedeur, but hey, could be possible. But I do think he'll be somewhere in that range where it's like, oh wow, I did not realize he was that good. I think there's going to be a lot of apologies issued to Shedeur Sanders and Coach Prime for doubting them, whether it's Paul Feinbaum, the odds makers won't apologize, but they should. Having Colorado 17.5 dogs to TCU, that's pretty crazy to me. But either way, like Carl Reed talked about, if Colorado has any success and makes a bowl game, like some people are starting to feel they can, it's going to be because Shedeur adapts to this next level very well. Oh, excuse me. It's going to be because he adapts to this next level. It's going to be because he's limits mistakes, limits sacks, and kind of puts Colorado in positions to succeed. He's going to have to be, especially at the beginning too, I think he's going to have to be a perfect mix of a game manager and like a player that can, an X factor. He's got to be right in the middle, game manager, X factor, because obviously you don't want him making mistakes that can get you out of games, but you do need him to make some things happen. And so Shedeur Sanders has a lot of pressure on him, but I think as time goes on, I think people are starting to respect the Buffs over here. So you got my flag, got the good backdrop, got the good lighting now. People are starting to respect the Buffs. They're starting to respect Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders, and I think it'll be a fascinating season. Again, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out a brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Experts Isaac Shad and Andy Patton bring you everything you need to know on and off the court. Plus, hear from big-name experts, coaches, and players throughout the basketball landscape. Locked On College Basketball, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. This is Locked On Buffs. Make sure to hit like, subscribe. It should be down here. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Let's get some questions. I would love to answer some questions. We have a huge interview coming up this week with a quarterback recruit that Colorado is in the mix for. I have Carl Reed on the docket. Hopefully, we just got to figure out some timing. So a lot of big things coming for Locked On Buffs. Would love to see you guys a part of it. Let's see that subscriber number grow. Let's get to 1,000 pretty soon. We're at, I think, 400 and some. Let's get to 1,000. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We will see you guys tomorrow.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.